Want to expand the reach of your content? Start a podcast. Feature industry experts on your show and leverage the influence and reach of your guests to grow your brand. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to B2B Growth, a daily podcast for B2B leaders. We've interviewed names you've probably heard before, like Gary Vaynerchuk and Simon Sinek, but you've probably never heard from the majority of our guests. That's because the bulk of our interviews aren't with professional speakers and authors. Most of our guests are in the trenches leading sales and marketing teams. They're implementing strategy. They're experimenting with tactics. They're building the fastest growing B2B companies in the world. My name is James Carberry. I'm the founder of Sweetfish Media, a podcast agency for B2B brands, and I'm also one of the co-hosts of this show. When we're not interviewing sales and marketing leaders, you'll hear stories from behind the scenes of our own business. We'll share the ups and downs of our journey as we attempt to take over the world. Just kidding. Well, maybe. Let's get into the show.
Welcome back to B2B Growth. I am your host for today's episode, Nikki Ivy at Sweetfish Media. Today, I've got with me Joe Martin, who is VP of Marketing and Strategy at CloudApp. Joe, how you doing today?
So good. So glad we could chat.
Yes, I love an enthusiastic answer. This is already fun.
Yeah.
So Joe's going to be talking to us about a couple things that have to do with the customer experience and video messaging, which I'm super excited to get into. But before we do that, Joe, I'd love for you to just take a couple minutes and give us some background on you and what you and the folks at CloudApp have been up to these days.
Sure. So I've been in marketing and data numbers for about almost 15 years and spent the last 7 at Adobe doing lots of various things with content and research and data. Moved over to CloudApp about 3 months ago. CloudApp is a video solution in the $16 billion collaborative market space. Enables communication through shareable videos, GIF creations, screenshots, and other enabling tools, and allows both internal and external communication to increase speed and productivity.
Nice. So it's sort of part of this infrastructure that's helping people get stuff done behind the scenes and to the point of this conversation, improving that customer experience. So talk a little bit about what the state of things is right now in terms of content.
Yeah, so content has been interesting to be on part of for the last probably 10 years. I've seen a lot of changes both with social media. It's kind of funny if you look back at your timeline on, let's say, Facebook, you'll see that when you first started using Facebook, it was a lot of one-to-one interactions. It was like, hey, I haven't seen you since high school. How's everything going? Looks like you have some kids now. Just a lot of catch-up type stuff. But if you look at your timeline now, it's sharing the latest article on whatever you're passionate about, pictures that move to Instagram. Text is really heavy on Twitter. And so there's kind of been this separation of how things are done on social. Certainly Facebook is wanting to focus much more on groups recently. LinkedIn has become like an Instagram of business, where you'll see a lot of people posting pictures and kind of giving really thoughtful, pithy points of view, like micro blogging. And I've seen a lot of video recently, lots of people jumping in with sharing their opinions and video. Live video came out, a few years ago with Periscope, and then Facebook Live, and now LinkedIn Live. Brands are jumping in on video. It's a great way to kind of extend content. So you can put out a blog post, and then you can use CloudApp to kind of talk to the blog post and have some video with like your face in the corner as you kind of scroll through the content, go a little deeper than you could with text. And so I've really seen a push for video, and lots of stats out there pointing towards 80+% of content consumption will be video based. I think that was this year. A lot of that obviously is due to Netflix and live streaming, but that is kind of having an effect on how we're viewing marketing as consumers and experience.
Yeah, that was kind of my next question is why do you think it's so important that marketers understand this stuff with respect to the customer experience?
So it's such a it's a way to create such a personal connection. There's a big use case for CloudApp with sales enablement that we've kind of seen. So if you're in one of these like long sales cycles, that's, at Adobe, when I was there, some of the sales cycles are 6 months to a year before you can close one of these $5-10 million deals. So you're following up a lot and trying to keep that relationship, but not always having a call where you may not like have, you don't want to talk about the weather for the 30th time. So you can record your face kind of talking to a white paper or presentation and then send that video over. And customers like Gainsight is one of our customers, has been able to get 6 million plus in pipeline because of video kind of enabled messaging. So it's a nice way to create a more personalized connection, add a face to your profile, and make your brand a little bit more human. Also, there's context. I don't know if you kind of have this issue sometimes, but like Slack or text or email, like you're kind of wondering, are they mad at me?
Right. Yeah, it's tough to get a sense of tone.
Yeah, is this, are they just telling me something? Are they mad at me? Like, what's the tone here? How should I respond? Are they going to think that I'm responding mad at them? Like there's a lot that's missed with tone. And so I think that's part of why video has been able to kind of really step in and help with customer experience.
Yeah. And what's interesting about this conversation is that I'm always on LinkedIn. And so a lot of the talk about how folks are using video and video messaging have more to do with, how to use it as part of a sales cycle, just in terms of acquisition and just breaking through noise and getting eyes on you. But in terms of improving the customer experience, there really isn't that conversation being had.
Yeah.
And so I guess talk a little bit about how that's come along and to be so strong in the customer experience space in the last 5 years or so.
I mean, there's the marketing side where you're adding that brand voice that I mentioned and kind of seeing a person behind the brand. But there's also like customer support. Another big use case that we're seeing with CloudApp is customer support companies like that are using us for closing tickets faster. There's a couple of companies that have run contests and have kind of seen how many tickets they can close faster, how much time they can save using video. So typically if you reached out to, let's say, Apple, and we're just using their live chat, and I had this experience, I don't know, a year ago, so that's why I'm thinking of it. But the live chat, was pretty lengthy, back and forth, kind of trying to explain my issue. There was a passing me to an FAQ site, like an article, kind of trying to take you through the steps to fix that issue. But I'm a very visual learner, not auditory or textual. So I found that if I could have a video like, hey, this is how you fix it. This is a button you need to click. Here's the step-by-step process, that I can close that quicker. In elementary school, we always had to write tell your teacher how to make a PBJ sandwich. Right. And you would write it and they would try and follow your exact instructions. And obviously you'd forget a step. And they would make it and everyone would laugh, because they did it wrong. But with a video, it's pretty straightforward of how something's being done. And we've had, customers been able to find a lot of success with closing tickets and increasing those NPS and customer satisfaction rates with that.
Yeah, that is a very salient example. It's an example of a time that I failed in elementary school. The how-to thing, just not very process oriented. But what I'm excited to hear is, so we talked about sort of where it's been, where it is right now in terms of video and video messaging. And obviously we're starting to see a lot of the evidence on this, particularly on our LinkedIn, timelines, right? Folks just it's like the Wild West, right? Everybody's wanting to use video and figuring out how it works with, either their sales process or their customer experience. What's the next thing? What is the future of folks using this? Have we even, scratched the surface?
I mean, one cool example is T-Mobile. So I kind of, coming from Adobe, they started kind of this customer experience narrative and have this CXM product that they're working on with SAP and Microsoft. But T-Mobile does a lot of end-to-end customer experience stuff with, John Laguerre and Nick Drake leading the way. And it starts, with your mobile device and how you interact with the brand, but then they're testing out ways of how like your phone is connected to screens in their in-store experience. And so it's kind of like Minority Report-esque, where you walk in the store and there's like a, hello Joe or hello you when you walk in.
Yeah.
And being able to, similar to how Apple will like close a ticket for you and have it, emailed or text to your phone. It's all paperless, and there's this nice end-to-end connection between their marketing and their in-store experience and their online and customer support experience. So really there's a lot of brands that are just focusing on it and recognizing that customers are willing to spend more for an experience, and experience is the new product. Like that's kind of where brands are putting focus. And, product has to obviously be good too, but in a competitive Amazon-led environment, you need to be able to create an experience that justifies your maybe more expensive product or service.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that like advertising, as it differs from marketing, advertising has kind of understood that for a long time.
Yep.
And marketers are just sort of now, coming along when it comes to that. And I think that has a lot to do with the role they play within an organization and the relationship with other, sort of silos, right? For lack of a better term, like the relationship to sales would cause them to have to focus a little bit more on, the one than the other. But now that we're all kind of up to speed as far as the fact that it's the experience that's going to set folks apart, then stuff like this video messaging becomes even more important. Talk a little bit about, before I let you go, a little bit about how you guys have applied these things that you're talking about to sort of bring that future into the present with the customer experience over at CloudApp.
Sure. So we're really primarily focused on the enterprise. We want to have an enterprise grade product that really lives where you are. So if you're, looking into video messaging and kind of screen recording and GIF editing and screenshots and things that live in the cloud, and your teams can collaborate on those messages and things that you're taking. We've also tried to link to where you live as an enterprise. So we have integrations with Zendesk and Trello and Zapier and Adobe and lots of brands that kind of are being used by sales and customer support and engineering, and really trying to get out of the way of those individuals. And so they can kind of come up with creative ways to use video messaging. And then, we can then, when we see something really cool being done, we can kind of reach out to them and host them on the blog or do a webinar with them, or really trying to create this community of people using the product and grasping onto it, and really kind of jumping in on the video growth that Zoom has seen and lots of other companies that are kind of in the news right now, integrating with that type of opportunity.
Yeah, it's great. So now we know, like I said, where it's been, we know where it is, and I'm super excited about where this video messaging is going. I'm already in my own anecdotal LinkedIn network experience, sort of seeing this stuff come to fruition. And it is, like I said, super exciting. So now we get to pick your brain about what learning resource, because Sweetfish endeavors to be a learning hub for folks in the space.
Sure.
What are you listening to? What are you reading that's either got you inspired, excited, informing your approach?
Sure. So I picked up a book. So there's two books I want to talk about. I picked up one when I kind of was consulting with CloudApp and was potentially knowing that I was going to be taking on this much larger role than I had with Adobe. So it's called 4 Disciplines of Execution. It's written by Covey, kind of put out by Franklin Covey, Stephen Covey. And it talks about just coming up with wildly important goals and focusing on lead measures, things you can control, versus lag measures, things you can't control, and making sure that there's, just going through the process of setting up goals and only having a few that people can really grasp onto. So that's really cool. I've enjoyed that, and kind of not just the leadership thought that's come from it, but just kind of one of those books that gets your brain spinning about a lot of different things.
Yeah.
The other one is Michelle Obama's book,
Yeah.
Becoming, right? I think that's what it's called.
Yes, it is.
Awesome. Super cool to just, I mean, I'm always down to kind of learn biographies and kind of, oh, you got it back there somewhere?
I was trying to see if it was on my shelf. Because okay, so a funny story, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I have to tell you this. A friend of mine got me a copy of this book for Christmas. And she was so excited, and she wrote like the nicest little personal message on the inside cover, only to find out that she had in fact purchased Mi Historia, which is the version of this book in Spanish.
Oh, that's too bad.
so I couldn't. I got the audiobook. I'm all up to speed now. But I kept it. She kept saying, just exchange it at Target. I'm like, no, man, this is hilarious.
Yeah.
I'm holding on to this. But anyway. Story. Yes, it is. It's go on. You were saying it inspired you.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. Like, I like to, it kind of humanizes people when they share autobiography, and you kind of, obviously you're not going to have the same path as whatever autobiography you're reading, but I think you can pick up on, for me, it's just the human element. Like, I'm a human, you are, Michelle Obama is, like, we're all kind of just doing our best to achieve something each day and kind of fill that role. And so that's kind of what I, pulled from it. It's more like an inspirational type book.
For sure.
I like to read a couple of those a year, mixed in with kind of these, more business tailored, data filled books.
Yeah.
So those are kind of the two that I'm finishing up now.
Are you, I have to ask you, are you a pages between your fingers kind of guy, or are you listening to them?
I love paper books. I do. Becoming, I got on Audible, and 40X, I bought the book.
I think Becoming might be best experience on Audible. I mean, I like to hear her speak.
It's kind of cool to hear
a biography. Yeah.
Talk about it. Yeah. Because I feel like there's less notes I want to take in Becoming, or like an autobiography. Like, it's kind of just more inspirational, like a TED Talk or something, versus like, a really heavy, like, factual book. I want to take notes and like write stuff down and kind of refer back to it. So it just depends, but I do like paper.
Well, good deal. I'm a listener. I seriously, I'm a listen to the book a third of the way through and then start another book.
Yeah.
Story of my life. But this has been so great. You've been super fun, and I think we learned a lot. Thank you so much for coming on. Hey, Joe, I know folks are going to want to connect with you. Tell us how we can keep in touch.
Yeah, so Joe D. Marty on Twitter, Joeedmarti, and then LinkedIn. You can probably just search Joe Martin CloudApp or Joe Martin Adobe. A lot of people still call me Adobe Joe, even though I'm not there anymore. And let's connect. And anyone who reaches out, happy to set you up with a pro account to CloudApp for $1. So let me know.
Nice little plug at the end. I see you. Well, this has been great. Thank you so much. You have a good one, Joe.
Sounds good.
We totally get it. We publish a ton of content on this podcast, and it can be a lot to keep up with. That's why we've started the B2B Growth Big 3, a no-fluff email that boils down our 3 biggest takeaways from an entire week of episodes. Sign up today at sweetfishmedia.com/big3. That's sweetfishmedia.com/big3.